on Sunday. In my childhood, my dad was always working at the TV station, so my mom and my grandmother took me and my brother to church. Then afterward, we would gather at my grandma's house, and we'd have a big Sunday meal. Afterward, I'm pretty sure we were lazy. I do remember naps in the afternoon with the windows in the bedroom open. And there was no air conditioning, it was the 60s. So the fan was blowing hot air around. And in the summer, we might have played outside with a sprinkler. But no other real specific memories come to mind. We couldn't go anywhere, the businesses were all closed, and we didn't do much of anything on Sundays, but rest and be together with friends and family. It was a good childhood, a simple rhythm. Nowadays, most don't go to church. It's become a thing of the past. We're too busy. There's laundry to catch up on, lawns to mow, football to watch. You know what I mean? So much going on. Maybe we can get a short nap in, but it's just another day of the week. Another day to leave us feeling empty and tired. It's not a judgment, it's reality, but it's a sad and disturbing pattern. Rhythm. Hear the word of the Lord from Mark, chapter 2, verse 23 through 28. Pronouncement about the Sabbath. One Sabbath he was going through the grain fields, and as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees said to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need of food? He entered the house of God when Abiathar was high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and he gave some to his companions." Then he said to them, "The Sabbath was made for mankind, not mankind for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath." And in chapter 3, verse 1 through 6, he continues. Again, he entered the synagogue, and a man was there who had a withered hand. They watched him to see whether he would cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Come forward." Then he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good or to do harm on the Sabbath, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. He looked around at them with anger. He was grieved by their hardness of heart and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." They stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately conspired with the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you honestly, I was all over the place with these verses. And I could not seem to find what the Spirit was leading me to in them. So I'll just take a shot at picking them apart to get started in a direction. The scriptures are about the Sabbath, the day our Creator gave us to rest. We heard that the Pharisees were highly critical of Jesus' actions in both verses, but Jesus offered legal opinions that they could not dispute. We need to be rabbis to understand all of the Levitical laws about the Jewish Sabbath. In a move that was sure to upset the Pharisees, Jesus declared himself Lord of the Sabbath. As God, he made it. He can do what he wants with it. But he drives home the point that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Like the Pharisees, we can deceive ourselves into believing that our way of thinking and doing is the only right way. We certainly get a narrow vision in doing that. That's a recipe that makes hypocrites. But in the second verse, Jesus doesn't even touch the man. He is healed by Jesus' words alone. And the man had to realize that the Pharisees were not happy. There was anger and tension in the air, but he obeyed Jesus. When we think about it, that single act of healing changed his whole life. We ourselves know of the transformative power of faith in Jesus. How many times has he intervened on our behalf to help us in some way? This is one of the few times we read that Jesus became angry. It was the fact that the Pharisees were insincere hypocrites. They would rather protect their traditions than allow a man to be healed, presenting anyone who could help the man when they couldn't, even if they had tried. So when Jesus confronts them about doing good or evil on the Sabbath, he knows they plan his destruction. They are plotting on the Sabbath, no less. I find that so ironic. A bitter rhythm. We can take away from these verses that the Bible and religion can be misused to hurt people by some who believe that they are right in all ways and have the right to impose their beliefs on everyone. But also in these verses, Jesus offers understanding, healing, love, his very own life for us. A very complex one. The traditions of Judaism over 1,600 years since Moses and the Ten Commandments came down from Mount Sinai have been interpreted religiously into an inflexibility of do-nots that go up against the liberty of the Gospels. Jesus changed everything. The Sabbath is sacred to the Jews, but it was never intended to prohibit work of necessity or deeds of mercy. In fact, we Christians aren't obligated to observe the laws of the Jewish Sabbath at all. That's from Friday at sundown to Saturday sundown. We observe the Lord's Day, Sunday. The first book in the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, makes this claim. The great I Am created everything that we see and know of. Also, everything that we don't see and don't yet know of in 6 days. On the seventh day, he rested. And amazingly, I find I am exhausted. I have been tying myself into knots over this sermon. How are y'all doing? Do you wake up tired every morning? Do you catch yourself nodding off at the wrong time? Yeah, me too. Why do you think that is? Are we trying to burn our candle at both ends? Get up early, stay up late, afraid we might miss something? While your lives are certainly different, I bet you can relate. The busyness of our routines has become an exhausting roller coaster, a very unhappy kind of rhythm. A rhythm is a strong, regular, repeated pattern. Our God is the great rhythm maker. There is rhythm in the heartbeat, and the rhythms in nature. What are some of our rhythms? We go to work, school, shopping. We cook, we clean, we play, we read, we study, we travel, we Facebook, we research, we Netflix. We go, go, go. We repeat. A definite, defined rhythm. Trying to keep up with it all is mentally, physically, and emotionally draining. What are some things that we can do? Maybe yoga and meditation might help. Who's got the time? How about going on vacation? Well, that takes having time and money at the same time. And I've needed a vacation after my vacation, if you know what I mean. It's all exhausting that running around. Suddenly I heard the Spirit's voice. Hallelujah, thanks and praise. The answer to our dilemma is that we need to come to church on Sunday. That we give praise to Jesus. He's Lord of all. That He does not require us to follow a bunch of rules and regulations. That we just be and do good to each other. Finally, a beautiful rhythm. It's not a day bogged down with a bunch of do's and don'ts. It is intended to be a day of privilege, free from secular work, when we may worship, serve, and attend to the food for our souls, the Word of God. It is a time to be together, sharing our faith, learning about our Creator, praying for ourselves, each other, and the entire world around us. It's not a question of what is wrong, or is it wrong to do this or that. We should ask, how can I use this day to glorify and honor my awesome God? How can I be a blessing to my neighbors? How can I use this day for my spiritual good? Let us equip ourselves with the knowledge that Jesus was born a baby in Bethlehem. He grew up in Nazareth as a carpenter's son, was baptized by his cousin John in the Jordan River, was taken up by Spirit to be tempted in the wilderness, preached 3 years in Galilee, entered Jerusalem as a king, gave us the bread and cup of remembrance, was arrested at Gethsemane, tried by Pontius Pilate, hung on Calvary's tree. The third day he rose from death and ascended above to his rightful place, where he makes a place for you and me to join him. That day will come when every knee shall bow down and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. Share this good news with everyone out in the mission field. We are a spiritual people, and it is for our spiritual good. It's a profound good. 6 days are enough time for us to be part of the chaos that is the world we live in. As people of faith, adopting the rhythm of the Lord's day, the first day of the week, a new beginning, a preparation that enriches, encourages, supports, and upholds us against the world that comes a-knocking tomorrow on Monday. God bless you. Amen. God is good. All